Fair market value is a really interesting and important compliance topic. It really helps manage enterprise risk to know if we're paying our doctors appropriately.
There's a whole host of regulations around fair market value, and the reason why it's so significant is not only are you aligning the provider's services with what they're doing, but does it make business sense?
So some of the challenges really are around data acquisition and validation, right? We see quite a bit a client come to us and say, hey, this is what we think is happening. We ask for the source data, we try to validate it, and we find errors. Once we feel really good about that, the compensation benchmarking and the study, if needed, after that gets pretty simple, but the control environment's really important.
It's not a survey says approach. So despite what a lot of people in the industry believe they can take one survey and call it fair market value and wipe their hands clean. Unfortunately, that's not actually the case, and that's where Forvis Mazars can help.
We really have two types of providers that we encounter in terms of contract structure. One is really very traditional around productivity. Hey, we need doctors, we have doctors, we're paying doctors commensurate to the work that they're doing. The more challenging piece are the doctors that we bring on, whether through employment or as independent contractors, that we need for access. And so if we really understand the need operationally, the need in the community, and how those doctors are deployed, we can create compensation models that account for that. And from a fair market value side, we can find the fair market value where it needs to be.
It's important to align the services with what you're being compensated for, and ultimately considering all the factors outside of just productivity. So that's making sure that patients are being cared for, how's the quality, how's the outcomes, and so there's so many factors within a market that are important to consider outside of just geographic regions. So there are a lot of consequences within fair market value and commercial reasonableness when it comes to provider compensation. And that is why it's so important to make sure that those regulations are well known and that they're being followed.
Yeah, so when you don't adhere to fair market value, you trigger the parade of horribles that your lawyers can tell you about. But the Stark Law is basically a billing statute. Every time you send a claim to Medicare, you're certifying that you are complying with the Stark Law. If you're paying your doctor above fair market value for any reason, every claim you send in, every bill you drop is a false claim. So you owe that money back, you owe damages on top of that. And so you get this tainted stream of referrals that's a huge financial problem. You know, ensuring any type of compliance is a challenge, but what you can do around fair market value compliance is have a great governance, supported by really strong policies and procedures, supported by a team of well-trained professionals, right? And you get this cascade effect.
It's important to include not just a valuation perspective of provider compensation, but also a regulatory overview of making sure that every facet of that provider compensation arrangement or component is actually legal too. I will say our Forvis Mazars approach to every fair market value and commercial reasonableness, or even compensation design for provider compensation, is that we know that every scenario and every physician and the services they are providing is unique.
Provider compensation is one of those things that is super critical to health systems and independent physician groups. It really sets the tone for what's important. Are we running our business in a way that supports our purpose? Are we paying our providers to do the things that are important? So do we have initiatives around access? Do we have initiatives around quality? Do we have initiatives around patient experience? Our model, our methodology really does capture the true work effort and provides a real value for the physician to be very fair about the outcome.